It's taken a couple of months for the cycling industry to kick off this year, but March has been absolutely rammed with cool and interesting tech to come from brands like SRAM, Fox, Cannondale, Canyon, and much more. We've even got 32-inch mountain bike wheels from DirtySixer. This is Off-Road CC's March Tech Roundup. Let's have a chat about those new things. All right, so let's start off with SRAM, and it's been a massive month for them already because not only have they launched 2 new drivetrains, there's also a whole new brake range to have a look at. But let's start off with those drivetrains, and Eagle 90 and Eagle 70, they bring T-Type technology to a cable-actuated drivetrain. So although T-Type has been quite a thing for a good couple of years now, it's taken a while for it to come to cable actuation. So these 2 drivetrains are set to please those mechanical purists out there. Both of these mechs are completely different to what we've seen before. Of course, they use the full mount system, but they're cable actuated. So setup is ever so slightly different, but it brings all of those T-Type benefits with the ease and accessibility of a cable. But of course, there's also a brand new shifter that kind of follows the same kind of style that we've seen with the Eagle drivetrains, but it follows SRAM's stealth kind of architecture. So it all sits close to the bar and it looks mighty tidy. For Eagle 90, we have a first ride review, so click up in this card to have a look at that, or head over to the website to find out more. As for prices, Eagle 90 will cost you £655 for the mountain bike setup. Prices change if you're riding an e-bike. Eagle 70 is an OEM-only drivetrain, but you can buy spares from the internet. Next up, and there's the brakes, and there's been an awful lot going on here because not only has SRAM brought out a brand new brake, the Motive, but it's shaken up its whole range. So the level, the guide, the code are not a thing anymore. They're no longer part of the range. So instead, SRAM is sticking with the Motive, the Maven, and the DB8s. However, there are some cool updates there. So if we start with the Motive, it's the brand's new cross-country brake, but SRAM says that it brings more power with the expense of a little bit of weight. And with that, the brand claims that, what is a few extra grams if you're getting more braking power? Interesting things here is that SRAM is bringing the Motive in the Ultimate Expert Kit, which is a similar thing to what we've seen with the Maven, in the way that you pay a bunch of money, you get the brakes, you get a selection of rotors, and you get everything you need to care for and bleed your brakes. It comes in about £585. Of course, there are multiple levels of the Motive, so there's Ultimate, Silver, and Bronze, so they should fit most price points. Next up, there's the Maven Base, and this is quite an interesting brake because the Maven is a brake that's kind of shaken up the braking industry, providing big power with good lever feel and mineral oil, which is one of the more interesting things we've got here, especially for a powerful brake. But what SRAM is doing is that there is now the Maven Base, which brings that Maven performance to a lower price point. So SRAM has brought the price down in a number of ways, and the key one that you'll find the most noticeable is that the caliper now runs 18mm pistons all around. So that's 4 18mm pistons rather than 19.5 and 18mm piston duo that we see on the fully fledged Maven brakes. Next up, we've got the DB line. So the DB8 was kind of a brake that introduced mineral oil into the modern SRAM brake lineup. And SRAM has expanded that range. So there's now the DB6 and the DB4. Both of them run mineral oil, as does all of the brakes that we've spoken about today. But they're designed to hit a price point. So the DB4 comes in at about £85, whereas the DB6 comes in at £95. They get tooled reach adjustment, and we're promised that they'll bring similar power to the code. So that is it for SRAM. Let's move on to Fox. And Fox has done something pretty cool here because not only have they released 1 fork, they've released 3 forks. And it's shaken up the whole Fox line a little bit. So first off, there's the 36, and it's still a 36mm stanchion fork, but it gets a whole new chassis and a whole new air spring. And this chassis is designed to bring 20% more stiffness to the fork, but without sacrificing weight. And we're told that this new 36 brings a similar level of stiffness as what you'll find on the 38 Enduro fork. There's then the 36 SL, and this carries the same chassis but sheds some weight and is actually designed to replace the 34. It gets all of the same technologies, and it brings those inboard oil channels as well as the air spring, but it's available in 120 to 140 mil travels, maybe 151 too. And of course that reduces weight, and it makes for a fork that appeals to heavy-going trail riders. Speaking of heavy going, there's also the 34 SL, which is the brand's new cross-country fork, which sounds pretty mad saying that for a 34. But this one replaces the 34 step cast. Again, it gets that new stiff chassis, uses a 34mm stanchion, gets the float compliant air spring that we've spoken about before, and gets those inboard oil channels. Where cross-country is getting ever more kind of aggressive and technical, this brings bigger stanchions at a lighter weight with more travel. So this is available from 110 up to 130 mil travel. Next, we have some news from Canyon, and you've probably seen it behind me. This is the new Exceed from Canyon. So previously, the Exceed was a cross-country thoroughbred, and you'll see it on the race circuits around the world. But with this bike, Canyon has taken a slightly different direction. The brand believes that cross-country hardtails are still valid, and it's very much still a thing, but they're designed for a different kind of riding altogether, especially with technical cross-country courses that we see these days. So with this bike, it takes more of a bike packing, long distance, Atlas mountain race kind of vibe, where lightweight, efficiency, and storage is key. So what's interesting here is that Canyon has built this bike with internal frame storage found on the down tube, and with that you get a bunch of stuff inside, like a bag, CO2, and a couple of tools that help you get things done. Along with that, Canyon has brought some geometry updates. So now here is a 67-degree head tube angle, and each of the frame sizes are quite a bit longer. So while this bike is designed to cover ground, when things get technical and a bit steeper, we're told that this bike should be able to cope well enough. And moving on to POC, it's not too regular that we see a new helmet from POC. And this month, the brand has released the Cularis. So the Cularis is a helmet that's designed to balance airflow and big safety technology. And it uses techniques and technologies that were developed with POC's World Tour road helmets, and uses computational fluid dynamics to design its airflow and its ventilation. So present are big vents and internal channeling that should engulf air through the helmet, kick it out the back, and guide it all over the head. Equipped with MIPS air nodes and polycarbonate shell, and of course an EPS foam, the Cularis has actually knocked the Fox Speedframe RS off of Virginia Tech's top spot. So apparently, according to Virginia Tech, this is the safest helmet on the market so far. As for the price, this helmet sits in between the Tectal and the Cortal at £200. So it turns out the wheel size debate hasn't finished just yet, because 32-inch mountain bike wheels are now a thing thanks to a brand based in America called DirtySixer. And DirtySixer has opened pre-orders for this bike, so you pay $100, they give you VIP certification, and that grants you 30% off of the price of one of these 32-inch mountain bikes. And the whole idea behind bringing such large wheels to a mountain bike is to cater for much taller riders. So we're talking 6 foot and upwards. And you know, the size range starts at XL, it ends at triple XL. So we're looking at some mighty big bikes. And with that, DirtySixer claims basically says everything that everybody's ever said about 29-inch wheels, in the way that the bigger wheels offer better rollover. They look a bit more proportionate with massive frames, bit more grip and more traction while climbing. So there will be a full build coming. It will cost you over £6,000. It comes with 140 mil of suspension travel at the front, using a fork from a brand called Red that's inverted, so it kind of looks quite cool as well. On to some e-bike news. There's a transition regulator. You've probably seen this bike floating all over the internet, but the cool thing here is that there are technically 2 regulators on the market, offering riders a choice of lightweight and handling, or full power and range. And Transition has done this by building the 2 bikes. One of them gets Bosch's Performance Line SX motor, that kicks out 55 Nm of torque, and that comes with a 400 watt-hour battery. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. And then there is the Performance Line CX motor that kind of gets the full weight and the full power. Both bikes get mullet wheel sets, 160 mm suspension at the front and 150 at the rear. But this is quite an interesting concept that Transition has brought up, in the way that it's giving riders a choice of the bike that they want, while not really making too many fundamental changes to the bike. So the geometry is the same, the suspension's the same, the wheel sets are the same, and of course the bike looks the same. It just offers you that difference between the ride character or the power or the output that you want from your e-mountain bike. It'd be interesting to see how sales do between the two bikes. If we look towards something a bit more gravel flavoured, there is the new Cannondale Topstone that was released early in the month. And what I find very interesting about the bike is that Cannondale was kind of proud to say that this bike comes with normal standards rather than the crazy Cannondale stuff that we've kind of used to seeing. So there are no triangular shaped stereo tubes or weirdly spaced rear wheels. It's all normal stuff, apart from the lefty Oliver fork, which is pretty mad, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. So this new updated Topstone brings wider tyres into the mix, but it also brings dropper post compatibility. So if this bike's not mountain biking enough as it is, you can put a dropper post on it. Of course, it's shaped to fit suspension forks, so there is a model with a lefty Oliver. Of course, it's a very strange looking fork, but then that helps allow for wider tyre clearances because there's only one side of the fork you have to worry about. And again, this is a gravel bike that's built for going the distance and taking riders over some pretty crazy terrain. So it's kitted with all of the mounts you could ever shake a stick at, and it can hold 3 water bottles in the front triangle. Additionally, as modern things go, there is storage in the down tube. Surprise, surprise. And if we move on, this is the last thing we'll talk about, so last but not least, the Revo helmet from Met. This is another helmet that focuses on ventilation and safety, so it gets MIPS air node, but Met has even taken this helmet and spent a lot of time in wind tunnels to make sure the air flows through the helmet as best it possibly can, to bring all of that cooling and coolness that you want from a trail or enduro helmet. Additionally to MIPS air node, there's a breakaway visor that will save your neck should the worst happen. And this helmet will set you back £170, which is at the moment is an incredibly competitive price point with helmets like the Fox Speed Frame RS and many, many others. So those are the most important news stories that you should know about throughout March. And as you can tell, we're doing something a little bit different this time around. So if you have any comments, any advice, any kind of feedback, please do let us know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more content like this, as well as reviews on mountain, gravel and e-mountain bikes, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.